Hello. I have a book I want to talk about, Coal, by Coal, A Human History, by Barbara Freese, Freese. This is a book from 2003, and it is something that I got from one of the little free libraries that I walk around the town and look at every once in a while when I'm on a walk. So this one appealed to me, and because I am, I'm interested in stuff like that. So coal, being an older person, and an older person from Ohio, I remember seeing coal. I lived in a house. My parents and I lived with my great-grandmother for a little while when I was like a 5-year-old, and her house had coal central heating, had a furnace that was fed by coal, and I remember going in the basement and seeing the coal in the basement, and so yeah, I don't know if people actually see coal anymore, because coal is, it's not that it's gone, it's not that, but it's disappeared from, the home. And that is kind of a new thing, because as the book states, it gives a whole story about fuel, and it starts out in England, where when the Romans were there, they found the coal, the shiny rocks, and black stuff that they carved, and they carved it for ornaments and things for their clothing and so forth, or jewelry. But they also were aware that it could be lit on fire, so they were cognizant of that. And after they were gone and gone away, that was all lost for some time. Although that was going on in China too. So China was on to coal, I guess, really before anyone else, as far as being able to burn it as a fuel, way back. So they, in the homes in England, they were all heated with wood. So the woods in England were being depleted by everyone chopping down the trees and using the wood to stay warm, and, to do whatever else that they needed to do with wood for construction and so on and so forth. So the discovery that there is this actual mineral that is kind of rich in Britain, when they did discover that and started exploiting it, it helped to fuel the expansion of the British Empire that happened in the 1800s, and when they went into this little island that basically did this colonial thing all over the world due to their ships and she talks about how the coal ships that they used to export coal and sell to other places could be turned into Navy ships. So they would be used, set up with guns for time of war, when there was like trouble with Spain and so forth, who were more involved with the sea for a while, way before Britain really got into it. So they the thing about England then is that wood is a lot better. Like you'd rather live in a city that is burning wood than a city that is burning coal, because coal is just dirty. It spews sulfur dioxide. has all kinds of other bad issues that go in. Lots of smoke and soot. And, so she describes what went on in England, the rising of the big industrial plants, and how that fuel and everything started all the big, was used to run all the big textile mills that were operating in England. So they would ship the cotton from the slave-holding America to England, where it would then be processed and shipped back out and sold out to the world as this cloth, as cotton. So so it's a quite an interesting book. I enjoyed reading it because I'm kind of fascinated by all that stuff. And then she talks about what went on in America. Once again, America was very very rich in woods. The people got here and they couldn't believe how forested the whole place was. Especially here in the East. How incredible all the forests were, and that is a serious resource if you're living off the land. Having a kind of forest like that, you can use the trees to build shelters. You can use the wood to build all kinds of things, and as fuel to keep warm and get through the winters. So that is what went on with that. Another thing in America that was quite interesting is because, the coal is not equal. There are different types of coal. There is, I remember being taught in Ohio in school about the different types of coal, the anthracite and bituminous, and how anthracite is what I learned from this book, how anthracite is much cleaner, and that's the kind you want, and that was discovered in America, around in Pennsylvania, around the Philadelphia area and so forth. So what ended up happening when the industrialization all got into high gear, in the 19th and the early 20th century, whatever, since it's very hard to ship coal as well, because you had to produce this whole big structure to move it around, like the railroads in England were basically started and constructed and devised as a means of moving coal from the sites of the mills to where it's going to be burnt and used in the cities and so forth. In America, since the coal was being discovered in the anthracite was discovered in the East, and then there's the Appalachian Mountains before you get into the Midwest and all that. Like they just kept the coal, the anthracite in the East. So the cities in the East that were using coal for homes and for industrial purposes were using anthracite. So Philadelphia and New York City were much cleaner because the coal they were burning wasn't as bad as sulfurous and all this other stuff as the bituminous that caused, really it was a horror to have to live with. There was a picture in the photo section, a little photo section of the book of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a big coal and steel making town, and how it's a picture shot at 3 p.m. where the whole thing is just black. I mean, it looks exactly like night with street lights on and everything. So it was horrible. And you would, she talks about how it would get in everything. You get into your house, it would get into your clothing, it would get onto the draperies, so people had would have dark colored drapes instead of white because they'd all get sooty from the coal dust, and it was everywhere. And like that's what happened with London. Before that, London just got horrible with the soot and everything from coal. Another thing that went on that is interesting here is that at homes, like in England for a long time, they like to have open fires, so that you would live and your heat source would be a fireplace, which is not a really good way to heat a house. A fireplace, stoves, like a pot-bellied stove or something, a closed stove, is much, much better because it radiates heat out into the room without sucking all the heat up the damper up through the chimney, which happens with fireplaces. So they would, once they switched from wood to coal, they continued to have the hearth of the fire, the old home fire burning there with the coal instead of with wood. So, but that was a problem because it was so inefficient. So it was using much more than was necessary to heat the house if they had used a stove instead, and spewing all this crap up into the atmosphere. So and she says it took them really late into the 1920s to sort of abandon the fireplace concept and go in more to the stoves. So all the cooking was done like stooping down into the fireplace and stuff like that. So people didn't cook standing up until they got like stoves. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. So let's see what else is there about the coal. So yeah, it's an interesting little book, and it's kind of since it's 2003, when she gets into the chapter about the issues with global warming and so forth, the carbon dioxide that also comes from basically burning and everything, and how that's leading to global warming. And when I say people don't see coal, it's not because it's not used anymore. It's used a lot. These big electrical power plants and so forth. It's just we don't see it anymore. It's just it's not brought into the city anymore. Actually, it's just used. Actually, I saw on 8th Avenue one time a couple of years ago. I saw a truck delivering coal into a pizza shop that used coal to make the pizza, and somebody told me, "Oh yeah, it's a special thing. That's like good pizza or something." Okay. So the whole thing of the history of fuel and what that does to societies and so forth is quite interesting, and quite a lot that has to do with this book. Is that that kind of thing. Interesting little point she makes about the fireplace thing. How humans had the fireplace for so long, and would sit around and stare into the fire. She wonders if the television has replaced that as the fireplace, and I guess there's some point to that, just to when you look at a fluttering, blinking light of in your house. Let it go here with the story of coal. Yeah, as I said, since it's 2003, I don't know if it's up to date about the global warming stuff and all that. But the thing about fuel, how coal's been used to make electricity and so forth, and now there's like all this electricity being used. They're building these enormous AI mills, just giant computers that suck up a whole lot of power and a whole lot of water, and they're, using up all this power in rural places where they're building these monstrous things for this sci-fi dream of AI or whatever. And, so that's another thing that has to do with fuel that's kind of interesting nowadays. So I guess that's about it. Coal, A Human History by Barbara Freese. It was good.